Yeah, the Christian music guys. Make some noise for the Christian music guys.
Today on the Christian Music Guys, we are honored to introduce a visionary filmmaker whose work speaks to faith, hope, and heart, Tyler Sansom. His passion for storytelling isn't just about entertainment. It's all about pointing us back to the heart of God, encouraging us in our walk, and reminding us that we are never alone in this journey. His latest film, Learning You, is out now. Tyler, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dude, so first off the bat, I know you're exhausted, but hey, congrats on the Best Director Award last night at the award show. I guess those 3 hours worth it.
You know what? Yeah, it reminded me of track in high school. I always ran the 4x4, which is the last race. And I was like the next to last award that was announced. So I was pretty tired but it was worth it.
Yeah, man. Well, congrats on that. So let's get into the conversation. So Learning You, what first drew you to telling this story, and why do you feel that it's important for now?
Yeah. So we got the script sent to us by a guy who had never written a script before, which is like usually a red flag for our team. We get scripts sent to us pretty frequently, and I to be honest, don't read them all the time because they're cold emails. But it just happened to be sent to a guy on our team named Mark. And Mark has a profoundly autistic daughter named Julianne, that's 35 years old. So he read the first 10 pages and couldn't put it down, and then ended up reading the whole script. Then he called me and said, "You need to read this." And Mark's the type of guy that I'll do pretty much anything he says to do. And so I read it and was off to the races after that. I think in today's world, so 1 in every 26 kids right now in America are on the spectrum. 1 in every 200 of those are profoundly autistic, like institutionalized level. And I don't think that conversation is going to slow down anytime soon. And I think it's time the church probably talked into that rather than just being a bystander. So that's, I think, a really important reason why we made this film.
Yeah. So why was it important? I noticed you cast an autistic character for the main role. Why was that important to you, and involve the families have those experiences?
So what we learned during the research of this film, we talked to about 100 families within the various levels of the spectrum. All of them, to a T, were tired of seeing films that romanticized autism. Like the boy at the end of the film becomes a concert piano player or a mathematician or solves some equation, whatever. That's not the reality for like a vast majority of these families. They're just trying to survive. And they wanted to have a story that like represented them. And so in doing that and trying to tell the story authentically, we knew we had to have actual representation in the film. Now the main role, there's 2 main boys. One's named Elijah, one's named Stefan. Stefan is an autistic actor. Elijah, there are sequences where the dad is dreaming that he's not autistic. So it was an incredibly challenging role to cast because we had to cast someone that wasn't autistic that could accurately portray non-autistic and autistic. So there's representation on both sides of that.
Yeah. Now, was there any parts of the film, part of the story, that were hard for you to bring to the screen or to film, and for any reason?
Yeah. I mean, from a practical standpoint, we shot almost all of it on sound stages, except for at the beach. You can't really fake the beach in the winter in Indiana very, very easily. So we had to move the whole company down to South Carolina, which traveling 100 people is not the easiest logistical thing to work out. So from that standpoint, that was challenging. But there are a couple scenes where it's generally just like a gut punch for the dad that we wanted authenticity, but in doing so, it was very challenging to film. The lead actor that plays the dad is named John Wells. And John has a autistic son, 10 years old. So this was a very personal film for him. And I love that guy. I've been friends with him for a long time. And watching him with some of these scenes, it was clear that he was just telling his own life story. And that made it challenging as a director to direct him in a way that wasn't like offensive to what his actual reality was.
Yeah. So in the film, there is a road trip and it happens during Christmas. Is that for a reason? Does that season represent something for for the film?
Yeah, so the film opens up uh, like a flashback 7 years prior to what the rest of the film is, and the son Elijah had a full blown meltdown and destroyed the house on Christmas Eve. So it opens up with like the Christmas tree destroyed, the plates for the dinner everywhere, glass broken, windows broken. And so it kind of sets the tone of this joyous season, but it's not very joyous for this family. So when we fast forward 7 years, Christmas is the backdrop, but it's kind of this like strange contrast of hope in the Christmas season versus like this despair that this dad's feeling. So it's a Christmas movie in the sense of like Die Hard's a Christmas movie. It just happens at Christmas. There's no like Hallmarky elements to it. But I love that concept. Like everyone else is joyous except for the main character who's really struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I have a family member that has autism, and you brought it up earlier with the church, but I think there should be some conversations in the church and family and beyond. How do you hope this movie will help those conversations? And also, the church, I saw a pastor about a year ago, and I was really angry, and the Lord reminded me that, he's like, Jacob, you can be angry, but you can't hate him, and you need to pray for him that God opens his eyes. But he got on in the pulpit and he started saying that kids that have autism are demonic. And I was so angry because I have a family member, that has autism. And I'm like, it's not demonic. And I was so mad and so angry. So, let's talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing before. That's a whole other conversation. We tend to over spiritualize everything, regardless of if it's biblical or not. Right. But
right.
Here's the reality of the situation. Since we made this film, I'm a pastor full time, so that's what I do. I lead a church, and
same.
Nice. So we do the movie stuff through the church. It's a longer story than we have time for, but the reality of the situation is when we made this film, it even in our area raised enough awareness that we've had families start coming and taking advantage of our sensory room at church, and they've said things like, "I haven't been to church in 10 years because I've never felt welcome." Like that cannot be the case. Like if we truly believe that everyone is made in the image of God, then that can't be exclusive to just the people we don't understand. And so as the Big C church, we have to do a better job of learning each other. I love the title of the film simply because it's a challenge. Like once you stop learning the other person across the table, relationships die. And as a society, I feel like we've just stopped trying to learn who these kids are with autism and just said like, they're different. Let's put them over here. Well, that's not the gospel of Christ. That's not what he did with the woman at the well. It's not what he did with the woman caught in adultery. It's not what he did with the lepers. So as the church, we need to do a better job, I think, of being inclusive to these families, because a lot of them are hurting and feeling isolated and feeling unwelcomed in the place they probably should feel the most welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. There's so much to say about all that, but we will move on. So I know you've had a gazillion interviews, but let's have a little fun real quick.
Yes.
Our viewers and our listeners like this. It's called Favorite Things. And so I'm just going to give you a word, Tyler, and you give me your favorite thing in that category. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Do you have a favorite food?
Favorite food is Indian food.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a favorite movie?
Probably all-time favorite movie is probably Casablanca.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a favorite show that you like to watch?
Oh man, it like rotates on depending on the season. It's got to be so I'll give you two. Comedy, it's either Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Parks and Rec. And then drama is definitely West Wing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you have a favorite musical artist of all time?
Favorite musical artist is probably Kings of Leon.
Okay. Yeah. Well, besides, you're a pastor, but you're also a filmmaker. Is there something that you love to do outside of those things?
I love sports. So like any kind of physical activity. I played
Sports?
football in college, so I still play flag football still, like on an adult league for has-beens. So I love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, I heard the Summer Olympics. They're adding flag football, so that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's cool. I will not be on
Yeah.
that team.
Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor is probably mango.
Okay. Do you have a favorite podcast or audio book that you listen to?
I listen to the Holy Post pretty much every Wednesday when it comes out.
Okay, nice. Well, Tyler, what is next for you, and how can our viewers and listeners keep up with you, and how can they check out Learning You?
Yeah, next for me it's pretty exciting. It's my first studio project. So there's a rapidly growing streaming platform called Rediscover Television that just crossed over 4 million downloads. And their first ever original is coming out. It's being filmed this fall, and I'm producing it. It's called She's Dating Jesus, and it's a genuinely funny Christian film, which is a sentence that doesn't get said out loud very often. But yeah, it's my first time ever having a studio back the project and pay for all of it. So I'm excited about that. But you can look for that probably next spring coming out. Watch movies.
Nice.
And then beyond that, you can follow me on social media. Just search my name.
Nice. Well, Tyler, to wrap up, I'd like to see if you'd be willing to share something that God's been doing in your life recently that would help build our viewers and listeners' faith.
Yeah, so I literally got back from Pakistan to NRB, where I'm at right now. So I haven't been home in a little while. But my wife and I and two of our friends went on a basically covert mission to free families from brickyard slavery in Pakistan. So in the last 2 weeks, we actually freed 13 families that have had generational slavery. And it was incredibly eye-opening to come from that to here. So I left like literal slaves in brickyards making 1,600 bricks a day to come to the Opryland Hotel in Nashville with some of the biggest money in all of Christendom, just walking around. And it just reminded me how much we don't store up our treasures here on this earth. We store up our treasures in heaven, and that perspective shift is very much needed in today's society. There's a lot more work to be done. There's a lot of hurting people and a lot of people that need the hope of Christ. And I hope that your listeners are inspired to go out for that kingdom.
Yeah, that's good. Tyler, thank you so much for chatting with me, Learning You. I don't think you said it earlier, but how can people check out the film?
Yeah, it's just now finishing up its theatrical run in the United States. It was in a couple hundred theaters in the country. It comes out in Europe in March 13th. And then it'll be out on streaming pretty much wherever you can get movies around April, coinciding with Autism Awareness Month.
They're the Christian music guys. Yeah, the Christian music guys.